Inclusion has become a checkbox to many organizations, a policy, not a practice. The truth is, inclusion fails when it isn't felt. Awareness without emotion becomes intellect without empathy. In a powerful conversation today, join me with Gauri, co founder of Mind Mintra Solutions, NLP practitioner, emotional intelligence coach, and Dharshani Sivakumar, founder of DS Image Consulting, NLP practitioner, and emotional intelligence practitioner, joining us. And we will be talking on how emotional intelligence, self awareness, authentic connections create a kind of inclusion that cannot be mandated only to modeled methods. Inclusion isn't what we say in the policy, it's what people feel in the presence. Let's welcome Darshini Shivkumar joining us first for a first set of few questions. We are waiting to have Gauri to join the session. Hi Darshini, welcome to our session. How are you today?
Hi, thank you. I'm good. How are you?
I am good.
It's always coming back to the space and sharing my thoughts and now and then.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome back again. You've been there with us for quite some time. And
Yes,
it's a pleasure having back the speakers whom we have been talking to, right? And it
true.
always been a great pleasure having you back again, Darshini.
Thank you.
Darshini, to start with, why do most inclusive programs fail when awareness training is everything?
Great question. And once again, good evening to everyone. See, it's not about awareness isn't a transformation. Many of us think, okay, if you are aware, we are transformed. But we need to realize that it's only an information which you what happens about inclusion. We talk about emotions in a lot of different ways until we experience well in an organization in any other space. We feel that we cannot explain what it is. There's a saying awareness without emotion is education without change, and we need to put people into that experience which people want, that individual needs to be experienced. I'll give you a very simple example. Lot of individuals or lot of people go through this emotion called grief. Until we experience, we'll not be able to uh, you know we'll not be able to know how to navigate or handle, but we are very good in giving gyans to other people. So yes, so that is what I would, you know, add to this. You are on mute.
Welcome back, Gauri. There was a glitch, I think, because of which Gauri took some time to join our
Exactly.
session. Welcome back to our session, Gauri. And the next question I would like to start with you. How do we measure emotional buy in, not attendance, Gauri?
Okay. So this is a very beautiful question because with COVID, which has come in and everything, attendance, you can get attendance because people can log in from anywhere, wherever they are. See, right now I am logging in from another place, which is not my workstation, and it's easy. But then what is the emotional buy-in? That actually you can only measure when you see the changes post the trading session, post the discussion, when there is a cultural shift which happens. When you start seeing people being emotionally sound and diverse, when they do not get any benefit also. Yeah. So that is when you actually see that there is an emotional buy-in. Not just that, hey, I attended a DEI session, or hey, I have been into the inclusivity portfolio of my team, because there are multiple portfolios which come into existence. Emotional buy-in is only seen once they are done with the training, once you see a cultural shift in your organizations, in your people, especially when they are not benefiting in any way. I always keep that as a factor, because if I am getting a benefit, I doing something is not me empathizing or is not me being emotionally intelligent. Rather, uh, when I have nothing to win, when I have nothing to gain, and I'm still being inclusive, when it is not with respect to work, but in my day to day life, I start looking at things from a very neutral state rather than being. Then I think there is an emotional buy in.
Your take on it, Darshini?
I think with anything and everything, I think we buy with emotion. Let it good, let it be, either a product or a service. It's the experience what people get out of something. Let it be in a training session, let it be experiencing a movie from a screen like PVR to INOX. So yes, it's a kind of experience, and it's an into anything and everything there's an emotion attached. So yes, that's my take on it.
Okay. Now, coming to our next point, can emotional actually scale inclusion across cultures is what we want to talk about. What elements of EQ predict inclusive in leadership? Gauri?
If you can repeat the question, please. Sorry, because your voice broke in between for me.
What elements of EQ predict inclusive leadership?
Okay. One of the most important part of EQ, which I say, which includes inclusivity, is social awareness. Uh, and the second thing which I mentioned, like when I say social awareness, why do I say that? Is you should be aware of what all elements are available in your society to include them first.
Hmm.
I not being aware of the different categories of people actually makes me inclusive. This is something which we need to understand. Now, I'll give you a very simple example. If I do not understand the LGBTQ community, how in this whole world am I actually going to include them in my teams, in my work, in my conversation? Because if I do not understand what is LGBTQ, if I don't understand all the variants, if I don't understand the rainbow actually with all its colors, I would be astonished or surprised when people come up with something. I'll give you a very small example. When I used to think I am very inclusive and completely, I was completely fine with all that was happening. And while I was traveling in a flight, there was one girl who was sitting in front of me. And when she was talking to her parents, she was talking in a plural, preposition actually. Uh, Sorry, pronouns, sorry. Plural pronouns, like not the singular pronoun. And I got surprised and I thought she's talking wrong Hindi. And I actually was about to correct her before I realized that me telling that I am an inclusivity expert and I'm doing, how could I not be aware of this, that it is her pronoun and she is using it and I should be completely fine with that? You know, even that element of surprise shows that I am not practicing inclusivity as such. So, to be inclusive, the first thing is I should have a social awareness. I should keep myself up to date with what is happening in and around me, what gender, what different genders are there? Why should I not know that? What are the different religions? What are the cultural differences of each religion? If there are races, what are those races and what are their cultural differences? Because inclusivity shows that I am here to accept the difference, not neutralize the difference. Yeah, there's a very important word neutralize, because if I'm neutralizing, and let me take a simple example of Hindu and Muslim here, could go into controversy, but please take it on with just the pinch of salt which I'm telling. I extending my prasad to Muslim is not being inclusive. I giving a Muslim person the independence to choose whether he or she is taking my prasad or not, and being completely fine with both the cases is inclusivity. Yeah, I wearing a parda is not inclusivity, but I accepting a person with parda in my session and not being weird about that, that is inclusivity. So
Thank you
that's
for
this would
that,
be
and I
my take
think
on.
that's a very helpful lesson, unless does not bring up a controversy where people think we're talking about two communities, right? So this is just for reference. So we are not referring to anybody on any cases. Just wanted to keep it as straight as it as an example. As Gauri rightly said, take it as a pinch of salt. And to you, Darshni, how can empathy audit reshape corporate culture?
Thank you for that wonderful question. Um, let's come into, or let's take first by understanding what is empathy, because many of you know, many or many individuals just talk from their point of view, not where the other person who is communicating something, understanding and see, accepting you what the other person has said is, but just giving the understanding here makes all the difference. But in many times in corporate and work organizations, either team or the organization doesn't have the time to sit and listen. Many a times, maybe in a thought process where okay, why is Kundi is the right thing? Maybe that is the case. Many a times, how bring in a work culture or an organizational culture is to listen completely to what a individual is saying a particular situation or any circumstances for. I think that is where it comes, because recently I was actually, it was one of the for a public speaking, uh, you know not an NGO kind of organization. Actually, I currently at this meeting, and speakers were from all over the world, and that's the time I really came across how different cultures empathy from a different angle. So yes,
No, I think what you are saying, empathy is the algorithm of belonging. I think that's what you want to say as we speak, right? When we talk
yes.
about empathy. Now, coming to next point, how does positional power numb emotional awareness, Gauri?
Sorry, it's how does positional power.
Numb emotional awareness.
Okay, so first of all, I always say that as you grow up the ladder, your technical skills are less used and your soft skills are more used. The more you climb up the ladder, the ratio changes. Now, does that mean a non-technical person or someone who is not technically sound can climb the ladder? No. If someone is thinking, someone is taking my statement that way, it's wrong, because you need to have the technical abilities to grow up your ladder, but you will need tons of uh, soft skill abilities, majorly empathy, I would say, you know, as you grow up the ladder. Being aware of the emotions what my team is having is my superpower. And that is something which can make my team accept me as a leader and follow me whenever I ask them to, or whenever, I lead them. Now, when I say emotional awareness, especially why I always emphasize on empathy, because empathy is one of those things which talks about not just my emotional state. Because if you look at emotional intelligence, Daniel Goleman's model, the whole emotional intelligence is based on that. And he talks about self-awareness and self-regulation as the first two modules, and then comes empathy, where he's stepping out of self and he's talking about other people's emotion. Yeah. So emotional awareness needs to be to that state where I am aware if I am taking a decision based on just emotions, or I have given emotions the driver's seat to take or decide, and I'm being biased to people. That place, I need to regulate my emotions. And as a leader, what becomes more important than just regulating my emotions is I being aware of what is that emotion of the other party, where is it coming from. you know I getting angry or I getting pissed on an unproductive teammate of mine is actually not fine until unless I understand why he or she is unproductive. What is that is making him not be as productive as he was couple of days before or couple of months before. Now, empathy, when we talk about, goes in different levels. As manager, at times, I just need to be cognitively empathetic. Yeah, I need to be aware of what emotion that particular person is in and how it feels, and period. Sometimes I have to go a step ahead and not just see what he's feeling, but also feel with him. Yeah, that's the next level. And then comes the third level of empathy. That's a compassionate empathy. Majorly meant when you are mentoring or when you are guiding or when you are helping someone step a stone ahead, you actually have to become compassionate because you are not just understanding his pain, but you want to take steps which can help him come out of it. Yeah, if my teammate struggling, let's say, Excel skills, okay, I have asked him or her a report and I expect him to give it to me in an hour. But he says, I have thousands of lines, I give you an output. First is I should not get angry if he's not giving me the reports. Second, I should understand and empathize that he doesn't know how to work with Excel. Third, if I'm compassionate enough, I will actually find out ways in which I can help him. I can suggest him a course on Coursera, or I can suggest him a course on Udemy, which he can just go ahead and take, or he can come back to me telling, okay, I have these queries and I can help sort it out. I can park 1 hour per week to see how it is progressing. I have come to that level of compassion that I'm not just understanding his pain, but I am going ahead and giving him ways of coming out of it. And I think then is when a leader becomes an actual leader, where he's not just questioning why you're not doing something, but he's understanding why you're not doing something, and at the same time, giving you ways in which you can work around. Yeah. When we were talking about emotional audit, when we are auditing as external or internal people, identifying the gaps is not where the game gets over. Understanding why these gaps came. Can we actually understand what was the reason behind that? What are the constraints that the team faced because of which they were not able to do what they should be able to do? What is the context that actually forced this particular decision to come into existence? That is empathy, and that is the level which a leader should be in, not just complaining why you did not do it. If there's an newly born father, I would say, It's not just the mothers who, after a newborn baby, are stressed nowadays. It's the fathers. If he's being unproductive, if his hair is a little messy, if he has come a little late, I should be able to understand that he has a baby who has cried till morning 4 a.m. and give cut him a slack and say, hey, oh, it's okay if you can just come a little late and work around or take back work home. If I have the scope, I should be able to do that. Understand, be compassionate, and that actually leads senses.
Gauri, thank you for that detailing, because when you said when a newborn at home, even the father is responsible to take some of the work, which is a very crucial part, which nobody talks in the emotional side of what a father is going down when he has newborn coming into his life, right? And he does not know how to express that also while he was talking about. Now, coming to you, Darshini, what unconscious bias habits make leaders unintentional exclusive?
There is a lot of assumptions created around emotional or even your mental health matter many a times, and even today that kind of a bias is still going on, or many of them are not even ready to even talk about it, or you know look into what can be done. That itself is weight, and they feel, okay, now if I talk about the situation, I'll not be included in the team or in an organization many a times, because in the few trainings which I have been giving in a couple of organizations, this is what something participants come up telling me, that if I open or if I bring on the table, I feel not included.
I
Because
think they
to
are saying
some,
that they are saying that they are not included because their opinions may be not aligned to what they want to listen. Are you saying that, Darshan?
no, even giving that psychological safety in an organization or amongst the team. Let's
Mm.
say, for example, there was one participant who came and told me, I'm scared to open up my thoughts or the emotional aspect to the team or to a team leader. Once if I go vent this out, I feel excluded, or I don't feel as if I'm part of the team.
Okay.
So that's what, many a times this in this past couple of lot of trainings I've noticed this pattern in couple of participants, they go quiet. Then I'll have to give them a activity where we make that participants feel all of them, maybe some kind of breaker or some kind of in a story format, or there are a couple of movie visuals which I show to make them feel they are one at that particular for the training or for the session. So yes.
Gauri, your take on it, Gauri?
Okay, so when you say unconscious habits, I always mention biases, because biases are unconscious majorly. We the one of the I'm picking up from where I left the last time. Fathers and mothers of a newborn.
Mm.
Mothers actually, a lot of feminists will come to me for this. That actually, because we have become so aware and evolved, we cut a slack for the lady, but unfortunately we forget to cut the slack for the man. He has also become a new father very recently. This is a very big unconscious habit. And with the nuclear families that we are in, now we don't have grandparents to take care of the child. The father wants to see the child's growth, so he's not sending the mother to the mom's place, kind of thing. So it is too young people who are trying to take care of a child and learning every day that, okay, this is going wrong. So it's not one person. That is an unconscious habit that, a lot of leaders have, and somehow they exclude. This is one thing. Another thing which I would say is the leaders feel they are listening, but unfortunately they are not listening. I'm going back to the active listening reference here. uh, After a while, the leader thinks, yes, whatever he or she is telling, I'm listening. But the leader's job is to read between the lines, listen what is not told.
Okay.
Listening what is told is very simple, but listen what is not told. Listen to the tonality, listen to the desperacy, listen to the pitches and pauses that the person is taking, the body language that has happened. All this will actually give you more than what his or her words are giving. If someone is anxious, if someone is tensed, if someone is actually going to hit the burnout, how blind the leader has to be to push the person to actually go to the level of burnout where he is exhibiting violence physically in a workplace. There was a video which yesterday night I was seeing where a school teacher is actually grabbing people's mobile because they have been using mobiles, and she's so angry that she's breaking people's mobile. So basically, the school's authority has let that happen. They have been blind. They have excluded the stress the school teachers are having, because nowadays the school teachers are everything. They are drama
Yeah.
master, they are dance master, they are,
True.
CSR event people. They are everything and a teacher. Yeah, so a lot of places this happens that unconsciously we become unaware, we don't listen, we are just pretending that we are listening, and we miss the cues which are coming. And then there is an outburst one day, and we all of a sudden say that, I did not know that this is coming. You
Hmm.
just did not choose to see, you excluded that. So you need to build that connection. Connection is actually the basic need of any human. Yeah, it comes from inside. It is the biology. The child connects to the parent, later he connects to a person who is similar to him or her, and slowly as he grows he will always find, search for connections and find people who are connecting with him or resonating with him in one way or the other. The leader should choose to connect, push themselves to connect, read between the lines, listen between the lines, listen to the body language, not just the language which is coming out of their mouth. That would be my
Very
take.
important point. I think I've seen a couple of schools, government schools especially, where there is a single teacher, as you rightly said, Gauri, where we do a lot of service while we give some philanthropical work that we do from our college side. So I've been visiting some of the government schools every year where we donate either books or some desks if they need, and based on the needs, we do some work. What I've seen often complained there is there a support that I can get as an assistant teacher, because everything is one person, because it's a single teacher. He's the science teacher, he's the maths teacher, he's the PT teacher, he's the dance class, as you rightly said. Everything they handle, and apart from that, he has to go through the complete census work of that village. Then he has to look at what happens to the government norm, the forms that has to go, daily attendance reports to be submitted, because everything after COVID has become digitized. You have to say what time he logged in, what time this guy came, how many people came, with so many things coming in. So one of my cousin, or my maternal aunt, she works in a school and she's about to retire in another 3 4 months. And I think the kind of stress they are going is, every day there is a new task, there is no proper internet there, but you will have to submit it before this time. So there is that challenge that I see when we speak about education at specific. Now, what does science say about why emotion changes behavior faster than rules? Because this is one thing that
Oh,
I want to understand.
I am taking this question right away because I was just having a discussion, I think a week before. where the discussion was, why are they behaving this way? And uh, I had two similar discussions. One, when a manager was cribbing about the Gen Zs and their behavior, and another one was again a school teacher talking about why my students are behaving this way. Uh, all thanks to Gen Alpha, they are a bigger terror than Gen Z. So I can understand. Now, see, behavior comes because of two things. For us, it came majorly because of the rules or the norms set by our parents and the hunter rule, which was there. You don't do
Hmm.
this, you will be whacked. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of us have the same behavior that we used to have with when we were with our parents. Let me take the biggest example here is when I was with my parents, used to sleep in a different time, get up in a different time. But when I left them, I'm mostly a nocturnal being, so I sleep a little late. And I get up early now because of different requirements, but I still sleep late and I will try to buy on some sleep middle of the day. Now, why did I sleep on time? Because I was, pushed, or the rule was there. But was there an emotional connection? I recently started seeing that my daughter also chooses to start working at 9. Okay. So a behavior which came. Now I had to switch that behavior. Can I say strictly that I'm switching off the lights, you go to sleep? She will do this for 2 days, one
Three
year, two
days.
year. By the time she leaves after 12th grade, where she is going to go wherever for her graduation, she will choose what I chose in my life. And I understand it's unhealthy. So then there is an emotional practice that we started. That emotional bond that we will go for a night walk together, and we will have our emotional sharing at night, which we normally used to do once I come back from work. This beautiful thing has made us both go to sleep at 10:30, 11, which for me is a very big achievement because I used to sleep at 2, 3 a.m. Yeah, it always happens that what comes emotionally comes from inside. It is not being monitored or managed from an external force. Our internal force is more stronger than any external force. That is why rules are always weaker than what our emotional or internal self gives in. Yes, rule does work, and there should be rules and norms, but try to bring an emotional change inside, and then you will see that the children respond much better. The people, the employees respond much better. Telling them that you should finish this report by Friday evening 5 p.m., the person would push and drag themselves, but letting them know that if they don't finish this report by 5 p.m., on Monday morning, there is a manager's meet or project lead meet where I have to go present it, and I will be embarrassed if I don't have the data properly set. If the leader is able to express that and get that emotional connection, I'm sure they will keep this as a priority and make sure it is done, because they don't want their leader to be embarrassed in front of other leaders. It is just that we don't convey that emotion. We don't drive the change through emotion. We choose to drive the change giving rules and norms. Very recently in schools, I have seen teachers getting emotionally connected and driving the change. I have seen one child who was very bad in mathematics. The teacher changed, the emotional connect changed. This guy has started performing. He's getting 75, 80%. The guy who used to fail is now getting 75, 80%. The teacher is success. Huh? So internal change can be brought when you work with emotion, and that is why behaviors change way faster with emotions than what you bring in as rules and norms. And it is a permanent change, not a temporary
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. So I think when we set some pointers which are mutually agreeable and they give a sense of purpose for each of us, then I think those rules will definitely be followed with the kind of examples that we put in. I think that's where you are saying that. Now coming to you again, Gauri, how do we mirror neurons shape inclusive clues, right? Because you are talking about that at the moment. So I wanted to add to your question. How do we look at these? pointers?
See, actually, I always say that we are social animals, where animals is a very big word, not social. Nowadays, people have started talking about social, they forgot animals. Monkey see, monkey do. Okay. It's always monkey see, monkey do. The neurons also mirror in the same way. I see a very toxic team, I become a toxic member of that toxic team. I see a
Hmm.
very open team, a team where everyone is allowed to be vulnerable, everyone is allowed to share without being judged. Yeah. Everyone is allowed to do mistakes. This person will be the most positive person because he or she is investing one third of their life at work. Please see, 8 hours out of 24 hours. Other 8 hours I'm sleeping, 8 hours I'm spending at work, 8 hours I'm spending at different things, eating, eating, meeting friends, meeting parents, me time, we time, all that. 8 hours at work. If I have a toxic team, I am a toxic individual. Else, I cannot coexist with that toxic team. Seriously telling, some level of toxicity I bring in because that is how mirroring works. If I am with a very biased leader, I will have my own ways of creating biases in my favor. Yeah. So that is one of the reasons which is always is being told, oh, that uh, in a cultural way, you see, if there are fighting parents, the child will actually choose not to get married, or the child will choose to be one of the toxic persons in the marriage. Why? Because that is the love language he knows or she knows. They will become passive aggressive. I have seen when the parents are very I would not say strict, but the parents do not understand the emotional vulnerability of a teenager. You will see these people being the most passive aggressive people. They will take all the load, they will try to impress people, but while doing that they are resentless in whatever they are doing. They hate the person whom they are helping, they hate the person whom they call as a friend and whom they are extending their support to. That is not how it works. That is not how it's supposed to work. They start mirroring what they are. That is why it's always told, no, that be with the right kind of people. We always say that, because if you're not with the right kind of people, you will not have the right mentality. If you want to be successful in your life, be with successful people. If you are being with people who are struggling, you will again start struggling. So start getting associated to people who actually have achieved, even if you feel smaller in that gang, because you will start mirroring whatever is happening. How can I become successful? And emotionally, how can I be sound? If you find your partner, your friend, your colleagues being emotionally unstable, choose to make a distance from them, because you will mirror their instability in one way or the other. So either talk it out or choose to have a distance. Yes, you cannot change your teens, but you can choose different ways of having distance with them. Just talk work, limit, and when you start feeling emotionally impacted, choose to take a break, get into a break state, go for some mindfulness exercise on your chair, and then get back to work. Yeah. So we need to start doing that. We need to keep ourselves and our emotions safe. That is something which I would say.
Sorry, a very important point that you touched was that staying in a team, and you will not find every team member joining you to be sync up with you as what you think, right? And that is a major challenge when you have to bring teams together. And every time I had a new team in my organization, what I see is you will have one guy liking somebody, one guy not liking, and these cultural differences are one thing that I am from this place, I would like to gel with only this kind of people. I am from this place, I would like to gel. Bringing them together is a bigger task. But if you can give them a common ground where you say, you are doing this technology, you are going to work with this person, this is the interface point, and this is where you need to talk. I think that's a very strong way of looking at you. You told that in as many words that you could put across. you see people have different thoughts when they see somebody opposing their views. And if that is opposed two, three times, that becomes a mindset saying that if I talk to this guy, he will not listen to me. Period. That's where they get that fix done there, right? Now, coming to you on the another point, Dashni, is how can organizations design for emotion, not compliance?
Uh, I was telling someone here when I was planning for a training. I was telling them that first start in the morning before we start the work and the other daily activities which we have to complete. I created a emotional wall chart for them, just like a quick check-in, just like a like a game for them to come every morning, and you pick and choose. I made a chart. I made a set of emojis also for them, and I put it in a bowl in front of the chart, in that emotion chart wall. So whoever picks up a negative, emotion or something, either they choose an activity, or I or I give them a list of activities which they can do, and out of those options which I've given them. And then there's a debriefing about that particular task which has been done. And once everybody feels they're good to go and start their day, then it goes. Because as simple as just adding to the previous question, the habits which we start uh, creating or developing or changing a habit to a new habit. Say, for example, someone was sharing this with me that there was a new joining that organization, and this existing employee was very reluctant to go teach that new joining. So somewhere I felt okay. Somewhere I think the either the ego is getting hurt, or I was trying to figure out what it was. But many a times we start taking that emotional decisions in many places. So morning I created a this emotional wall, and afternoon during the lunch break I created a different activity so that somewhere there's a team building, there's some kind of team building activity also goes hand in hand when they're doing this. So they get to understand each other instead of complaining. You didn't do that well. I didn't, you didn't get that task done because of which my task also got delayed. And everything goes on a toss.
Right.
So
Now,
I think many times that, I think it's more of the emotional stories which we tell ourselves. Are we thinking as if, are we as an employee in that organization, or are we running the organization for the this thing, for the brand? Many a times, so it's more of emotional stories what they tell themselves, and not even them knowing changing that story. Yes, initially that was a big challenge when I was handling this, but then it's more of working on their stories, the emotional stories or the self-talk which all of us have. I think if
okay.
that gets changed, many a times this complaining part goes down, or they're not clear with the job description what they have joined for. Just for the
I think
package, they come and join.
I think the pointer that you're talking about when we talk about the role description, that becomes a very key pointer, because many of them join just to have a job most of the time, and they would not have clarity on their roles as well, right? Now, coming to that point, Gauri, what shifts HR from checklist to care system? Because most of the time HR is given saying that my your manager said this is the feedback I give it to you, this is where you have to change, this is rather than having that, they should be a care system that should be built. What is your take on it?
I feel that's one of the reasons why HR because Rangoli department and all that is because whenever the HR is being approached for anything, they first take out the rule book and start talking about it. Yeah. So, what can they start doing? Have started doing this. That they beautifully first sit and listen to whatever it is. The rule book can be looked into later. Yeah, there was I would tell one of the biggest place where rule books are referred always. One of the organizations where I was taking posh trainings for everyone, even the blue collars, like approximately 800,000 people is what I was training. There's this very beautiful question which came from the HR, asking, okay, is this coming in a sexual harassment? Is this coming in he had a list of 7 8 things which he was asking. Does this come in sexual harassment? Does that come in sexual harassment? when uh, when I heard that, that was a very clear picture of you are just looking at the rule book. You are not looking at what is getting that individual uncomfortable. you know when you start looking at policies and when you choose to close your ears to whatever the people are telling, you are actually not an HR anymore. Bring the humanity or the human in the HR, because that is how your job starts. Listen to them. Yes, norms are important. Yes, policies are supposed to be referred, but at least let the people be felt that yes, they are being listened to. You know, hear them out. Sometimes going around and seeing a way which can support people, support the employees, find a way which can help them, you know, evolve, is actually what makes HR the actual HR, I would say. And few of the companies are doing it beautifully. Even in training, even everywhere. There was a very one of the organizations where I was taking a training. When I told, see, I'll give you an example, very beautiful example. I was training a solid 7 days online training for one of the organizations for new joinees. Okay, these are graduates, GETs who are getting into the organization, so they need to have all soft skills. There was this one person, one student or participant, I would say. Uh, she had an attitude issue, is what I felt on the day one. The way she was talking and all of that. But later I understood that even after giving her a couple of feedbacks in the 7 days, unfortunately, she was not able to change. And how can she change something which she's carrying for years? Now, this is
Yes.
Gen Z. If you people have different attitude. When I was supposed to call it out during the trainers meet. Okay, so when I called it out, the beautiful thing the organization's L&D manager asked me is it something which she's not changing, or she's trying to but then she's unable to? And I was like, somehow I feel she is trying, she has got the feedback, but I think we'll have to give her more time. And she was beautifully, she told, hey, don't call it out in the feedback, but don't give her less score. You can tell that this is not business etiquette. You can tell or explain her, because simple. She is okay. Nowadays, colleges are open. Her hair is all falling with just one small clutcher, and a carefree look. Sometimes that carefree look can translate into I'm least bothered about how I'm coming at work. So she was able to understand this. The L&D manager telling, cut her a slack, give her some time, give her some input. Let us see if this improves in 6 months, because the phase two is happening in 6 months. We will see how this works. That was such a beautiful thing. And I was like, yeah, this is where I'm not opening the rule book and telling you. but I am actually understanding your state. I'm empathizing and I am working around that. So that actually makes the HR the actual HR, and people reach to these HRs. So that would be my take on policies versus emotions.
I think what you're saying is inclusion isn't about a policy. It's a pulse that you feel, right? And that's where you take care of people. Now, as we are running out of time, we will run few last question here, and then we will look at few comments which have come up in the comment section. I would take your inputs, Darshni, and Gauri. You can add on. What are people tuning out of inclusion conversations? Darshni, I think. Yeah, sorry, Darshni. Yeah, go ahead, Darshni.
Okay. No, can you just repeat the question?
What? Give me a second. What are people tuning out of inclusion conversations?
Okay. Here I see different people have different perceptions, but then not many a times it doesn't happen the same way which we expect to happen. Now, say for example, uh, we tell a emotional story. Not many a times they feel they're included in the story or they don't connect with the story. Either ways it happens. Because
Okay.
many a times in lot of sessions in lot of places I have this habit of telling stories because stories have that emotional connect, or at least it will make people think to, okay, what is their take or what is their perception to the story. Many a times I don't get an answer from the audience. Many a times that also happens, but it depends on how, you know do they feel that they're included, or is it just their mindset problem. That is something which we need to figure out, either by understanding through their gestures or the way they communicate to back to us through a feedback. There are a lot of times I have, either it's a movie clip or it's a small video clip which I show, or many times I just narrate the story. Many of us come back and tell, I don't feel connected. And but they take it in a different sense. Then I
They,
have
they,
sometimes after the session I have to go back and tell them this is what I meant.
they build perceptions, is what you are saying in whatever
Yes.
talk that you are giving. Gauri, your take on it, Gauri, before we get into the
Okay,
questions
my
that are
take
there.
is a lot of times I've seen people using the same presentation for DEI what they used 5 years before.
Okay.
You are not addressing the same crowd. You cannot
Yeah.
have the same examples. I cannot take example of Sachin and explain them what is success. I will have to take example of Dhoni. I will have to take example of Virat Kohli if I have to explain them what a comeback is and how people have come back when others were asking. When the narrative at this level has to change, the narrative at the cultural level also has to change. You are talking about inclusivity, but you somehow do not talk about what are the new things which have come. How do you accept that? One of the things which I have started talking, I'm little diverting from inclusivity and talking about posh. Okay. Why am I
Mm.
talking about posh? Posh is something for women. Inclusivity comes when, as an organization, we say, yes, as per the government law, posh is for women, but our policies are gender neutral. Now, that is inclusivity. You need to
Okay.
talk about that. You need to change the narrative before people get bored. You cannot have the same story and expect people to understand inclusivity, understand cultures. Talk about the different cultures which are there. Stop talking about North Indians and South Indians. Start talking about low context and high context cultures. Talk about Japan, talk about Germany, talk about Spain, talk about UAE. And when a person from UAE is joining your team, how you're supposed to behave. When your person from Germany is joining, you cannot overshare and start asking, what does your wife do or what does your kid do? German people get extremely offended. Why the hell are you
Yeah.
talking about my family? So you need to explain them inclusivity in that way. You cannot use the same old narrative, because then the moment the inclusivity talk comes, people pick up their mobile and start scrolling. What does
Mhm.
that mean? They are not interested in whatever you're talking. So this is a call out to all the people who talk about DEI. Please update yourself, pick up cases which are recently happening, tell them recent scenarios, bring in inclusivity from that ways, draw the context from the crowd which you're talking to. DEI at school level should be different, and I also recommend DEI at school level, which people rarely do. DEI at college level, DEI at organizational level, when they are juniors, when they are just starting, to when you are bringing in managers and leaders. The same PPT cannot work. I am coming to the basics. PPT itself remains the same. How can you take it for freshers and leaders with the same presentation? Change your examples, change the narrative, retell the story with relevance, and then you will see that people are not running away from it. People are not doing it just naam ke vaste, just for the sake of doing it. It is actually something which they are taking back. So that would be my take on why people are running away.
No, I think what you are saying is very true because I was part of Wipro earlier, and in Wipro there was a very clear mandate saying that first-time managers had a different program, elevating managers had a different program, then leadership, going into leadership roles, what, and during these leadership sessions also there were different sets, how you look at cost, how you look at management. When you talk leaders, they used to be groomed in such a way that how a leader should look at and what a leader should know. And if a first time manager is coming into a role or you upgrade him to become a manager, how that lead should take the next step of becoming a manager, where he has to understand other dynamics which a manager needs to. So the trainings were so well customized, where you had a different set of content for different set of audience. Now, I take completely agree on what you're saying, Gauri. Now, I have few questions which have come here. I'll bring them here. I have Sneha saying that, does that mean saying no to a job is not hit on the boss's ego?
Why does it have to be a hit on the boss's ego? You should be assertive. If that comes with the right reasoning, it should never. There is assertive communication that we promote. How can I take something more than what I can bite or what is on my plate? If I already have tasks scheduled till 5:30, which can extend to 6, my work hour gets over at 5:30. Me telling my manager, I will be able to look into this and push it across tomorrow to you, or letting him know that if I include this task right now, the deliverable of tomorrow will be extended to evening or day after, is my way of making him or her understand that yes, this is how organized I am. So I would say assertive communication is the key, letting him or her know that I can only do this much. See, overcommitment and lesser delivery is going to upset him anytime, upset the manager anytime. It should majorly be committing and trying to over deliver, which will bring in a delight to the manager. So, being assertive, giving the right reasons, explaining is what works and should
I think,
work.
and she has another follow-up thing which says a no to a task at work is a direct hit on boss's ego, which comes with someone's jobs. I'm not sure. I think it's the same thing that you explained in saying it's related to what you have told on the previous question. I think that is clearly
Yeah,
understood.
yeah.
Then, yeah. Next I have is Krishnanand saying very informative, right? Nice. And we have again Sneha saying beautifully said, Gauri ma'am. So then we have one question coming in from Balakrishna G. Shetty. Gauri just said something interesting, but not in so many words. It's not Gen Alpha who are different to handle. It's the lack of discipline of the parents of Gen Alpha. So I'm not sure, but what is your take on it, Gauri?
Okay. So, the parents of Gen Alpha are we millennials and few boomers, I would say, isn't it? So, coming back to one of the statements which we were telling, we were one of the most disciplined generations, disciplined by whacking. Our parents were that. And what did we do? The first thing, we changed our behavior the moment we were away from those rules and norms. And that is why we as parents, I would say, are a little undisciplined because discipline came the wrong way to us, I feel, it did not come with the right reasoning. It came with threat more than cause. I hear my grandfather now. He's no more, but my grandfather was someone who used to tell me, "Get up morning because sun would give you this, sun would give you that, sun would." Now he's giving me a reasoning. My mother would whack me and wake me up that good people get up in the morning. Difference. Okay. I choose not to get up in the morning. She chose to get up in the morning because her father told the benefits of getting up. Now, here we are this confused generation who's bringing up Gen Alpha. I would say there are few good things which we teach them, and there are few things which we ourselves need to learn before we teach Gen Alpha. So, Gen Alpha is difficult because they live in the moment. Somehow we don't live in the moment. We always live how my future should look like. So I guess it's difficult to digest that. Uh, the more disciplined the Gen Alpha parents are, the Gen Alpha will be that rebellious, I would say. That is what my psychological understanding says.
Any inputs from you, Darshni?
I see. Even I, it's many a times it's out of pressure we, and I end up doing things many a times. But in this recent days only, even I have come into that understanding of doing something in particular as these benefits instead of doing it under pressure.
Yeah.
There was a time where I was that one individual who used to go and sleep at 8:45, 9 till a point of time. Then that eventually what happened when I started doing, when I decided to become a trainer and I was doing that program, I knew it was beyond my capacity of finishing it, but then I just said one thing that no matter what happens, no matter what effort it takes, I'll finish it. Then I started tweaking the habits which I had is now going and sleeping early neither is not getting my task done or that is also becoming incomplete. Let me, finish that task no matter what happens. 2:33, even 4 in the morning, I sat and completed the task. Actually, that's when I really understood the importance of what commitment to work actually is. Nobody came and told me this, but out of experience by trying out different things is when I came into this understanding. Sometimes things needs commitment, and many a times it happens.
Got that. Gauri, with this, Gauri and Darshni, with this, we are done, and we are 7 minutes on top of the hour with the topic going on, and we could not have all the questions or the pointers that we wanted to discuss today because of shortage of time. So we are saying that we will have those questions answered. We hope the questions that you asked have been answered. Anything that you need to the audience, just respond to the comment section and we will be responding back to you with the right answers and the clarifications. And thank you, Gauri. Thank you, Darshni, for joining us today. And with this, we would like to wrap up our session for
Thank
today.
you.
And thank you.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much, Prem, for bringing such lovely topics. I mean, thank you so much. I am exhausted from a whole day of work, but I was so excited for this because this is one of the topics which is the need of the hour. Somehow you bring in those
Definitely,
topics. Thank you so much for letting me contribute. And I'm sorry, my answers are a little big. I guess that's the reason why you are
definitely.
having few questions left.
No, I think what you gave was more of a justification into the question that needed that kind of a lengthy answer, and we had that pointers very clearly given, Gauri. I think that's where we see that time taken is not going to be of a delay or the time consumption because that needed that kind of an answer, right? And thank you for having that answers given. And with this, we would like to conclude. Thank you.